What's up, guys? It's the GOAT, the RB Grinder, back again. Today we're going to be going over Jinx, going over a card overview, and kind of talking about the deck and stuff so you can kind of get an introduction to how to play it. Jinx is a really cool deck. She is aggro. I know I said in my last video Darius is kind of like aggro. Jinx is a aggro deck through and through. It kind of plays like black-red in Magic. If I were to give an example, super cool, super fun, lots of discarding, lots of drawing, and just playing through your cards as fast as possible and trying to win as fast as possible. It is a purple-red deck, really fun. So Jinx's ability kind of wants you to dump her hand. So at the beginning of phase, so if you don't know how the phases work in Riftbound, they kind of work like this. So right here, you have your Awaken phase. So ready your runes, beginning phase, resolve any start of a turn ability. So that's when you would trigger Jinx to draw a card. Channel phase, then draw phase, then you do action phase, which is where you do everything else. So before you draw a card on your turn, if you have one or fewer cards in your hand, you draw a card. So if you have one card in your hand, you basically draw two at the start of your turn. So you're kind of trying to dump your hand every turn, playing through your cards as fast as possible, discarding when you can, and just kind of going through your deck. It ends up having some really cool synergies too, so keep in mind. Now, the champion that you're going to play is mostly always going to be Jinx. So it's basically pay 3 and recycle for a 4-drop that has Assault 2 attacker. And when you play her, discard 2 cards from your hand. If you want to play her as an accelerant, so you could play her for 4 mana, recycle 2 instead. And she enters as ready, which is really, really, really cool. When you play her, discard 2, so that kind of synergizes with your Jinx ability, kind of keep your hand low, so that you can start drawing more cards and kind of going through your deck, finding the cards you need for each situation. The signature spell you have is really, really good. It's a 4-drop deal 5, which is essentially a 4-drop kill a unit. If you're playing against decks with bigger than 5, obviously it's not kill a unit, but it's really good. And keep in mind, the OP thing about this spell is when you conquer any of your things, which you're going to be doing a lot with this deck, you can discard a card to return the card from trash to hand. So it's a removal spell that recycles pretty much, not every turn, but almost every single turn. And it gets out of control so fast. Really, really love the flavor and everything with this card. So when you conquer, discard a card, return it to your hand. So it's just a removal spell that keeps recurring and keeps recurring. Being as you want to dump your hand, you are going to be playing the seals in this deck to kind of recycle a rune to add a mana. You kind of want to dump cards out of your hand. This card's just great. You're going to be looking for this in your mulligan. You want to have it. Sometimes it's really awkward when you don't get a Fury rune, but such is life. You should get a Fury rune. If you don't, it is what it is. Some of the battlefields you're playing is Reaver's Row. When you defend here, you can move a friendly unit. Just honestly a really good aggro battlefield, I think, because you can kind of you already have a unit there, and then you can play a unit rested, and when they try to take it from you to stop you from scoring too many points too quickly, you can move it and defend, and it kind of makes some of these battlefields kind of unattackable in a way, so it's really, really nice. The most OP one, the Arena's Greatest, again, for any aggro, red, purple, fast deck, this is going to be one of the best ones. It just makes the games end so much faster. The game plays out faster, puts a lot of pressure on ramp and control decks, and it just makes it kind of get out of control for them really fast. So hopefully you get this battlefield a lot when you play this deck. Zon Warrens is also really, really good for Jinx. When you conquer here, you got to discard, then draw one. So keep in mind you can't draw, then discard. So you kind of have to have a card that you want in your graveyard or you don't care about in your hand. But it is still really good for kind of going through your deck. Again, the whole thing with Jinx is building up your discard pile and going through your deck as fast as possible. So you play a couple of low mana cards. Just a couple, just a calm little 5. Vi, every deck that's red is pretty much playing this. It's 2 mana, 3 drops, sometimes 4. Really, really good. Recycles 1 from trash. In this deck, you're actually using the recycle 1 from trash a lot. A lot of the other decks I was talking about, you're not using that ability as often. You will have stuff in your trash in this deck. So this one is definitely a 2 mana 4-drop, essentially. You play the Legion Rearguard. This deck, you're going to be using the recycle rune a little bit more often, but not every time. But you're definitely going to be using it more often than not. Traveling Merchant, when you move, discard 1, draw 1, so it's kind of like a delayed discard and draw. Just a really good 2-drop. This is kind of a staple for some purple decks, but not every deck's going to play it. He can do a lot of discards and draws if he lives, but you're essentially only going to get one from him because you're really not trying to move him back from the battlefield most of the time. Chemtep Enforcer, 2 mana 2/2, but assault 2, so he's essentially a 2 mana 4 if he's going to be attacking someone that controls a battlefield. When you play him, discard 1. Again, this goes into the whole like you're trying to discard cards, which is really, really nice for your deck. So Noxus Hopeful, we've seen this card before. We know what it does. It's a 2 mana 4-drop if you've played another card this turn. So on turn 2, if you're going first, or turn 2, if you're going second, it's a 2 mana 4-drop. Look for this in your mulligan if you can find it with some other 2-drops, early drops in your deck. It's even crazy. I've had games where I've opened the Seal of Rage and I was able to drop this on my first turn and just have a 4-drop for no reason. And then the game gets out of control really fast. You also play Flame Chompers. This is one of your payoffs for discarding, so you kind of want to hold this in your hand. Basically, when you discard me, you can recycle a Fury Rune to play me. This is one of the payoffs for kind of discarding cards. So, Traveling Merchant or Chemtech Enforcer. Like Chemtech Enforcer, play it, discard Flame Chompers is a crazy combo. That's essentially 2 mana for 5 mana worth of stats, split up into 2 things, so you can go to both battlefields super, super fast. If you can play this on turn 1, you're in such a winning position in the game. This deck gets going really fast. I love it. It's one of my favorite decks. Immortal Phoenix. Now, this is a really crazy deck card in a lot of decks. A lot of decks are going to be playing this, but I think specifically in Jinx, it's one of the best cards you can definitely play because of the signature spell I was talking about. So Super Mega Death Rocket, super crazy, right? Deal 5, so it kills a unit, you can get it back, right? Every time you're able to use and recycle Super Mega Death Rocket, you can get Immortal Phoenix back. And Immortal Phoenix is essentially a 3 mana 5 that can come back from the grave. So super good discard fodder, super good to have in rotation with Super Mega Death Rocket, and you just keep recycling it and recycling it and recycling it. It kind of becomes your grind game at a certain point. Hopefully it doesn't get to a grind game, and hopefully you just win. But if you need it to get to a grind game, you can have it get to your grind game. It's a really good card. A lot of decks are going to be playing that card, I think. You're also playing Misfortune. She's really good. 4 mana 4. Play to an open battlefield, so she kind of has like rush. And then she is really crazy because you can actually, once you have her on the field, you can play friendly units to open battlefields. So like even if you play her in your play zone and you don't play her to a battlefield, like the turns after just get really, really fast because you can just start dumping from hand into the battlefield, which is really great, obviously. It gives every character essentially like a pseudo rush, which is more than you can ask for in this deck. Darius is really good. This deck has a lot of like little spells and stuff that will kind of have to do like combat tricks or removal. So a lot of times this will be a 5 mana 7. This is about the top end of your curve though. So 5 mana is a lot, but it just kind of rounds out your curve because otherwise your curve is all lower stuff. So you definitely want to have at least one big minion. It's definitely probably going to be this one because you're really not getting to 8 mana for the removal dude. The 8-drop that kills a dude and it's 6 damage. I don't think you're going to get to that mana most of the time with this deck, and you're going to be discarding too often. To be honest, Darius doesn't come up this much for me. You might be able to remove it for something else, but you do need something at the top end of your curve to kind of help close out games. I think Misfortune might be a little bit better, like the 5-drop Misfortune, but this is definitely not a bad option. As far as removal spells go, you play Gust, which is a reaction. So you play it anytime, return a unit at a battlefield with 3 or less. So they think they're going to take the battlefield and you can just kind of gust it back and you get a point when you shouldn't have. Again, with the whole aggro strategy, you're trying to end the game as fast as possible. This can kind of help just surprise them and kind of like, get that extra point you need to kind of close out the game. Every point matters. And then you also play Rebuke. It's 2 mana. Return a unit at a battlefield, 2 minutes owner's hand. Let's say they go attack. You could just return it, bounce it, and then you're going to be in the clear. You don't have a lot of defending abilities or hiddens or anything like that. So this is a really good removal. I think this is one of the best removals, though, because it returns it to hand, so they're going to have to pay all the mana and recycle costs to play the card again. Gust is a little bit worse for sure, because it's only like 3, but essentially these are just 2 bounce spells pretty much. Gust doesn't hurt them as much, but Rebuke hurts them a lot, especially if you hit like a big creature with it. I like, if I'm playing against Volibear, I'll save like 2 mana around like turn 3, 4, basically so that when they want to try to play like the Predator or something that plays to the battlefield, I could just instantly rebuke it back, and I'm in the clear. I'm chilling. There's no issues, because that can definitely be one of those things where the game can end or be won right there. So you really want to pay attention to when you're leaving the mana up for spells like Rebuke and Gust. Rebuke definitely is more important against certain matchups because you need to have them. You need to use them at a pivotal point where it's going to actually make a big effect on the game. And a lot of those big things are going to be when they're playing like a rush minion or a like Dreadbloom Predator or something that plays to a battlefield, because bouncing that back is going to A, hurt their curve really bad, B, gets you an extra point, and C, just kind of start putting the game in your favor because they need those turns to kind of equalize the game state. They need to slow you down. They need to equalize the game state. They need to stop you from doing what you're doing. So these spells you definitely want to hold on to as much as possible and kind of like have the mana floating when you think they're going to come up. Deck's really fast, really fun. Um, it definitely has a bit of a learning curve. I will say the first couple times you play this deck, you might have a hard time because you might be discarding things that you don't know are bad to discard. Like you might get rid of a Super Mega Death Rocket, and then like a couple turns later you need it, and you can't really get it back. Without like, going super negative, and you can't get a battlefield. But I will say overall this deck is one of the easier decks to play, but it has a very weird learning curve. You kind of have to learn how to play it a bit. But it's got some super simple combos, super easy like kind of things that you can kind of see, like, oh, Chemtopper Enforcer, discard Flame Chopper's broken, right? But overall, this deck's really good. I don't know if it's one of the better decks. I don't know how much better it is than like Victor or Ari. So far, Victor and Ari have been the best decks in testing for me. But I have played a couple games of Jinx. I've definitely won a couple, definitely lost a couple. But it is one of the better decks, and it is for sure playable. I really do like this deck. It does feel very sad when you don't get there, but a lot of the times you are going to get there in the early game. You just need to draw the right cards and kind of curve out really well. I wouldn't say it's as aggro as like Magic and like, Red, that kind of decks, but it is as close to aggro as this game's going to get, I think. Plays a little bit like Black, which is cool, but with the Immortal Phoenix and the Flame Chompers and Super Mega Death Rocket, I'd like to see the deck in the future lean more into that like discard-centric deck. But for now, with the cards we have limited, it's kind of more of an aggro, like rush down, ramp, like play on curve super hard. Kind of like Hunter from Hearthstone, it reminds me of. But overall, I really like this deck. Hit me up, like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions or issues, I'll answer all the comments. I'm going to be making the gameplay videos soon here, but other than that, just have a good day. Subscribe. RB Grinder out.